2. Instructional coaches? Administrators? What other roles am I missing?
Librarian.
Teacher librarian? Same?
Curriculum director.
Yeah, curriculum. Okay, perfect. Great mix, which will lead to some really good conversations. So welcome. Who am I? I'm Julie Graber. I'm an instructional consultant with Prairie Lakes AA. I've had a great, I'm going to say, learning opportunity to work with a lot of different educators, and I feel like that's my professional development. And anytime I'm with teachers or principals or curriculum directors or coaches, I feel like every time I'm with them, I'm constantly learning. And so with all those experiences, some of the things that you're going to see today is a result of that. So what we're going to do during this session, it's going to be interactive. I'm going to make you think a little bit, which is a little bit maybe harder in the afternoon. So I'm giving you a little warning. But this has to do with getting to deeper learning. How many of you have technology sessions, or not technology sessions, but when you think about the technology used in your buildings, schools, or with AA, what you see across districts, what are you noticing? Are you finding that people, for the most part, are using technology in more innovative ways, transformational ways, deeper learning ways? Yes, no? What are you noticing?
For me, it's the low level.
Okay, low level.
It's just basically the replacement.
Okay,
stage.
of what they did before.
Yeah.
Of what they used to do without tech.
Yeah.
Okay.
Using
What?
docs instead of pen and paper.
Okay. What else are you seeing?
At our school, it's hard for our kids to distinguish the fact that it's not an entertainment device like it is at home.
Uh-huh.
Like, they just want to watch YouTube and
Sure.
stuff on it instead
Sure.
of actually use it.
Yeah, battling that. Yeah. Okay. What else are you finding? Good, bad, or otherwise? Anything else? What are you noticing?
We're starting to see the shift. So like using it for collaborations, online collaborations, things like that. Yeah. So we're starting to see the shift.
That's good. That's encouraging. Any other observations that anybody wants to share?
Some think that just because they use iMovie that they're clear at the on the SAMR, we're trying to incorporate the SAMR. They think, well, I used an iMovie so that they are at the redefinition.
Yeah.
But you can't put your apps in the SAMR. It's how you're using.
Or Webb's depth of knowledge, or Bloom's taxonomy. Yeah. So context matters. Okay, context matters because we can see that in even just teacher materials. We've done some activities with schools where it'll say analyze and conclude. Okay, and this doesn't have anything to do with technology. It's a worksheet, right? But then what the task is asking them to do has nothing to do with analyze and conclude, right? So context matters because sometimes people would say, well, you gotta look at that verb, and that'll tell you. That's a starting point, right? But that doesn't matter. And it's interesting that you say that. You are, what's your name?
Julie.
Julie. So we're gonna have a little immersion today that gets to something like what you just described. So it's kind of a nice segue as we move in further. So one of the through my experiences, one of the fortunate things that I've been able to experience is my working relationship with Scott McLeod. Do you guys know who Scott McLeod is? Most people nod their heads. So he's an ed tech leader. Came initially from University of Minnesota, so he works in higher ed, and then started his CASTLE program, which is really ed tech leadership for leaders, administrators, helping them understand some of the systems pieces that need to be in place in order for you to leverage technology in meaningful, deeper ways. And so then he came to Iowa State and started that program here, had the opportunity to work briefly in, I think it was Georgia, and then worked with us for 3 years at Prairie Lakes AEA, and now he's at University of Denver, Colorado. So he is very much a leader in ed tech. Dangerously Irrelevant is his blog. So if you don't follow that, very interesting read. Anyway, so one of the things that he and I talk about, he put this together regarding the shifts that schools need to make. There are 3 big shifts, okay, in his mind. One is we need to move from lower level thinking to higher level thinking, okay? Because right now we see an overwhelming emphasis on students doing those tasks, a lot of regurgitation, factual recall, things like that. Whether it's digital or not, we see that, okay? So we need to shift more toward higher level thinking, where kids are creating and using those problem-solving collaboration skills. The other shift that he talks about is moving from analog, which is where you see pens and papers and textbooks and worksheets and notebooks and ring binders, to more digital, local and global learning spaces that are deeply and richly technology infused. So what does that look like? So shifting more toward that. And then finally, the other shift is teacher directed, where teachers are at the front and providing that font of knowledge for children, versus learning environments that enable greater student agency, where they're owning their own learning, they're coming up with their own questions, doing that deep, rich inquiry. So as we think about those 3 shifts, a lot of challenges that we have that we're faced as we think about those 3. And so is it possible that maybe we could, I'm going to say, hack at one of them and not necessarily do all 3 because it could be very daunting. What does that look like? So we're going to spend a little time looking at a tool that actually Scott and I created together to help teachers and administrators and other educators really start to see what does technology integration look like at a deeper level. How can we analyze it for it? And then once we notice that maybe it's not quite there in maybe one of those 3 areas, what can we do to start to shift that? Okay, that's what we're going to kind of spend time doing. So you should leave here today with some ideas as to what that could look like, and I'd like that to be part of your exit slip to tell kind of a commitment to yourself, and then to me, what I'm hearing resonates with you as you leave here today. Okay? So, first thing I'm going to have you guys do is look at a short video. But before I do that, I'm curious, how many of you have seen or used Mystery Skype? Okay? Most of you? Okay. So most of you are familiar with it. This video, sometimes it's hard to capture the kids. Can anybody kind of give just the gist of it for the few people that don't have a sense of what it is? Can anybody give the gist of it real quick? What is Mystery Skype? What happens?
Generally 2 classrooms in separate locations, could be globally or within the country. And the object is for each group to figure out where the other one is, using only yes/no questions, isn't it?
Yep.
Generally. And you might break up your group into teams. You might have those that gather the data or gather around maps, while you got those that are the questioners.
Yep.
Such.
Yeah, perfect. So you're going to see 2 classrooms. One that's where the video is taking place, and then you'll see like the projector with this other classroom somewhere else. So this is what you're going to see. So try to listen in, and I'm going to ask you some questions about what you thought of that video, okay, in terms of the thinking and those kinds of things. All right? Hopefully this will work.
And the classic please. Mr. Barnes, are you still there?
Yeah, they don't live in Saskatoon. Okay.
Yeah, I'm great. We're Andy Broad. See you guys later.
They must be. Are you guys from Philadelphia? Oh, yeah. Do you have a professional NHL hockey team? Yes.
In the beginning, that was all a trick with the Jamaica and England and the flag and the block. You didn't pick that up. It was all the section.
Okay, just talk to somebody next to you, and there might be a need for a triad about what you thought about the mystery Skype lesson, what you thought was good about it, whether you liked it a lot or not, whatever comes to mind. Just have a conversation. Kids have specific
And I think it goes to the step of making these questions and think through all the different clues they got to determine what makes a good question. Yeah, exactly.
I think at the beginning, yes, the model of what it should have looked like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
This, use it, okay.
Yeah.
21st century ago.
Because I've never done either, so it's not done.
There's a great really close community that's just called Mystery Hangouts, and people are on about those things. I have class on it.
Okay, you can wrap up your conversations. So, how many of you thought it was really good? Raise your hand. Okay, how many thought it was not bad? I mean, I'm kind of like right here. Anybody right here? How about it wasn't that great? Down here? So everybody thought it was good? You're kind of hesitant.
Yeah.
Tell me tell me where you put yourself. Like,
I mean, I think it was good. I don't think it was like anything outstanding, but I think it was good.
okay. So now, how many of you use Sammer? Okay, so where would you put this video on this lesson on Sammer? Thoughts?
Maybe just at the augmentation level.
Okay. And do you know why?
Not just from that brief clip, but I've
Right.
never done one.
Right.
Not knowing what went into it beforehand.
Yeah.
What's coming after.
So typically, when we talk about like the before and after, it's like whatever you see, whether it's a walkthrough, whether it's a lesson, it's just a point in time. You know, this is what it is. Okay. How about either one of you? Do you have an opinion on where you would put it?
Well, with redefinition, I always think of previously inconceivable.
Uh-huh.
I guess I don't know how far back you go. I mean, that would have been inconceivable, certainly, in my day.
So you put it where?
Probably
Put it on
redefinition.
Okay,
just
so-
because it wasn't possible without the technology.
Okay, so we have two different. Anybody else use Hammer or have an opinion on that? Okay, so what about question for you guys now? Kind of stepping out of the Mr. Skype lesson per se. when you guys are in your district, do you guys have anything that you use to determine whether it's quality? So like Michelle's like, it was good, it wasn't spectacular, but it was good. Well, what if it needed to be spectacular? What if the teacher wanted it to be better? Do you have anything to help the teacher, you know, or, because what's your role?
I used to be a technology coach, but now I'm a data and instructional specialist.
Yeah, but if, you know, if somebody came to you, you know, the teacher's like, hey, I saw this, or I've done this before, but, you know, I want some help, you know, does anybody use a framework or any kind of tool to help with those conversations? Anything objective that, you know, would guide that to be able to improve it? Does anybody have anything right now that they use?
A lot of the emphasis, and I'm from Wisconsin,
Uh-huh.
a lot of the emphasis is on our educator effectiveness framework, the Danielson model,
Yep.
but it's not specific to technology.
Sure. So it's interesting. It's a good segue into my next point. And by the way, I'm hearing it was Julie, right?
Yeah.
Julie said, you know, like from that particular video, it was difficult to see. I did link the lesson, so if we had maybe a little bit more time, I'd probably have you maybe peruse that first, so you, especially for people that didn't really know what, you know, how the mystery Skype works. And so you get kind of a sense of what the objective is and that kind of thing. So there is that listed there. But for time's sake, we kind of have to kind of keep moving. So one of the things that Scott and I have found through our work with different school districts in Iowa, across the state, is that we really did not find anything that really helped schools, whether it doesn't matter the role, understand what effective, strong technology integration look like. And so while there's lots of different frameworks out there for thinking, for tech, we really didn't see anything that really connected with some of those shifts that he illustrated in that diagram. The deeper, the higher order thinking, student-centered, and digital. And so what we did is we said, well, if we can't find anything, well, then I guess we might have to put something together. So that's what we did. So what we did is we took a look at a lot of the different resources here. Some of them you probably are familiar to you as I scroll down. Different initiatives that have come and gone maybe, or maybe still hanging around. Some tech integration frameworks, and some pieces of information matrices that we know that people kind of tend to gravitate towards, IPI and IPIT, and so on. And so as you can see, we did our homework because we did a thorough analysis. And so what we did is we took big ideas from each of the frameworks because we thought that most of them had some I'm going to say characteristic of worth, if you will. And what we did is we tried to come up then with kind of the best of everything, and what would make sense given those three shifts. Okay, so what we did is we created this unit lesson activity redesign discussion protocol for educators to use in thinking about tech integration as we move from maybe lower order use, where it includes student agency and higher order thinking, and that it's steeped in important discipline concepts. Now, we didn't have a title for it when we first started out, because that wasn't our point. Now, is it inclusive of everything? In education, no, it's not, and we don't want it to be. Okay, so we kind of have to think about what is it that's most critical and most important. And so we came up with these various components. And what we do, what Scott and I did, is we spent time, and you can see his comments on the right-hand side, we spent time kind of providing a little bit of a narrative around some of these things, because some people kind of struggled with some of the terminology. So that's why Scott has, he was the note taker when we were putting this in. And so we have these various components. So you can scroll down, you can see what we have, or I can scroll down, discipline-specific inquiry, authenticity, deeper thinking, personalization, student agency. We have communication, collaboration, and with technology and assessment. Those are the components. So, what if we were to take this tool, what time are we done? 3:10? Is that right? Okay. So I'm just going to give you probably a little exposure to this one, and then I want you to apply in a different one. So what I'd like you guys to do, if we could maybe split this up, and have you four, right here, you two and you two, I want you to read through component A, domain knowledge, domain practices, and domain technologies, and make sure that you're kind of understanding those four, okay? And you four, and I'm going to have you maybe come up and join. You four look at component C, which is deeper thinking. And then I want you to read through and see if there's any things that trip you up or if those make sense to you. And then I want everybody to look at H, technology. So you guys are doing discipline specific inquiry and tech. You guys are doing deeper thinking and tech. So read through those. Make sure you understand what it's asking. Then I'm going to show you the clip again with Mystery Skype, and I'm going to have you answer those questions as you think about that context. Has everybody had a chance to read through their two? Or do you need another 30 seconds or so? Okay? Any questions on what it's asking? Is there any terminology that you may not be familiar with or that might trip you up? Any questions? Okay, so here's your job. I want you to be prepared to answer those questions using the context of Mystery Skype. So I'm going to play the video game, but now you have a frame, all right? And so your group will be doing A and H, and your group will be doing C and H, okay? And then we're going to talk about it. All right, so, oh, I forgot I closed it.
And the class agrees. Mr. Barnes, are you still there?
They don't live in Saskatoon. Okay.
Yeah, that was great. We're going to go and see you guys Friday.
Wait, are you guys from Philadelphia? Oh, yeah. Do you have a professional NHL hockey team? Yes.
In the beginning, that was all a trick with the Jamaica and England and the flag and the clock. You didn't pick that up. It was all section.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do is kind of individually read through those and, how would you respond? And then I want you to have a conversation and see if you guys come up with the same responses. Okay, when you're done, and have a little chat. Kind of just go through what you guys have for this, see if you can come to some kind of agreement. And if you can't, that's okay.
It's messy.
Yeah. Some critical thinking.
So it's creativity.
The only thing that I would have question about is that it was just one answer specifically, but the process to get to it involves a lot. Right, right.
So was that creativity we just talked about?
I think that was more deeper thinking.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the students have the opportunity to design, create, make, add value that's unique to them.
Well, it's so each kid brought whatever knowledge or world to the situation. So that would have helped guide their question to help them pinpoint the thing.
I'd like to know how they decide who had what role, if they have any choice.
They are coming up with questions and creating questions. Not exactly what I would think of as creativity, but it is allowing them to create something still in a way. And it,
Well, I think it's interesting. You tried to trick the other.
yeah.
I didn't catch that. What did they say to
They
me?
put a visually before they give them the.
Oh,
And then my kid kept coming on to the time and stuff.
oh yeah, okay.
Right.
Thank you for remembering.
I thought that was hilarious. Like, I gotta go to the team with someone else.
And that reflection piece, I didn't notice the link to the voice thread until the end. Did you see
Yeah.
that? The QR code, so they did have an opportunity to reflect. And that's
like necessarily know what that involves, but I saw that too, yeah.
I'm curious if they talked about a better way to structure this next time.
I think,
You know, as we go into this again, what the better skills to do.
but it seems they didn't have the opportunity, so we'd say yes on that too.
Yeah.
I know, it's caught, it's caught it all.
So we're going to technology now.
So I think it done.
Those ones I'll see. Yes.
Like, doesn't take the focus away from functionality.
That mask provided the piece for them
You know what I mean?
to
Like,
do it.
like maybe they're not fully cognitively processing the fact that they were in their questions and answers, or that they were in
One of the things
research
that
skills.
sort of because
Because it's couch
it's
communication.
not really that they'll do that, but as far as that, like you mentioned, introducing them. So that's a key conversation piece of it. Talk about the learning and the process. There's who I am, and I'm very passionate to that, you know, so they can still communicate and see what they're asking. Not
So
just
technology
technology.
only is not yes. But the question to the, or the answer to the question is no.
And that's
For that first bullet?
Yeah, so like to the
Yeah.
italics, it's a yes.
Yeah.
Right.
To the type of question.
Right.
Did the technology, did the tools overshadow that? I think it did.
Yeah,
That's what we're saying.
Maybe she's thinking it's to go
This tech and
further
so
than
that students can do it.
yes, if these people were in Africa.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be
Learning
possible.
about that,
Much
you know,
harder.
what's your role in this school? What's your role as a here?
And vowels or something maybe,
Yeah.
but it's, makes it a lot harder.
Looking at atlases.
Yeah, and waiting to get the letters back.
Yeah.
To certain different, I hook them with, you know, what's their day at school like, that they can connect with that, that they run in this whole site.
Say so,
Statistics and
yeah.
like the outcome
At
was
first, I thought maybe not a lot of power.
Yeah.
I guess maybe if they're
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
up with questions and kind of running the whole thing, that does make it.
Which is why we put it on the, and we just started with that model. That's why.
Yeah, I think so.
Kinda? Okay, so here's the deal. So you guys split A and C. So we're gonna listen to your responses. And when you guys hear them speak, see if you agree or disagree. So don't feel like you're just having them speak and not actively listening, and vice versa, okay? So see if you would agree with what they're saying. So when you respond, you need to provide that evidence, okay? And not just say, yeah, it's yes, or no, or somewhat. You know, make sure you're providing the rationale. And I'm sure you guys provided that rationale through your discussion, but I just wanted to make sure that that's what I'm going to be looking for. So with that, when we look at the discipline-specific inquiry, domain knowledge, for your group, are the students learning discipline-specific and relevant knowledge, skills, and dispositions? What did you guys say?
We weren't really sure because we weren't sure what the discipline was that they were like the class was participating in.
Okay.
Was
Like
it
the objectives
geography?
were kind of saying like connect with another classroom and work through creating good questions, which maybe makes it seem more like a literacy thing, but then it was kind of more geography content, and so we really struggled with all of these because of that discipline specific.
So what do you guys think? Do you guys agree, or do you have a different take? Just curious.
So I would say it's not trivia. Like I think about the ELA skills that were involved in that. So not just asking certain questions, but then the kids who are doing the research, like they had to be able to read, sift out evidence, provide that to the other folks. That's how they were then deciding whether or not. So it's also that argumentation, like they were having to convince our classmates, yes, this is good, no, this isn't good.
Yeah, I think we were caught, we weren't sure if it was like a
Sure.
literacy thing or if this was supposed to be a geography lesson.
So
We
right
brought the
there,
skills.
so right there is the flag goes up. If you're not sure, that should be problematic. because it should be clear. You guys are educators. If it's not clear to you, it wouldn't be clear to other people.
I disagree.
So,
So in an ELA classroom, like if I am working on those skills with
right,
kids,
but here,
there's nothing to say that geography
this
should
is
be
where
the
it's
way I go
different.
about doing
This
it.
is where it's different. Discipline-specific inquiry. So there's a reason why we chose that particular component. Because yes, I would agree with the literacy skills, because we can make that argument in every class. But if we don't know what it is that kids are supposed to be deeply engaged around in that particular discipline, that is problematic. Okay? No one's going to argue that those skills aren't important. Okay? I'm not going to argue with that, and neither is anybody in this room. Okay? So I'm just telling you that if you come across, whether it's something that you're kind of practicing with, or if you eventually kind of get comfortable and you're in the classroom, or you see a task, or whatever the case may be, instruction on video, and you're like, not sure. How can we make that clear? Okay? Because it might be an intention of the teacher, and it's clear in the teacher's mind, but if it's not clear to an outside observer, it's probably not clear to students either. And that's where we can, and we like to use the hashtag make it better. Okay? So it's not about, I'm going to say, like not ultimate, but it's not like it has to be, like it has to stay in this particular space, or